So, since we have all this stuff that's going on with a lot of people being furloughed, a lot of people being laid off, a lot of people are filing for unemployment and things like that.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on, we all have to live somewhere. We all have to have somewhere to live. The good news is your unemployment benefits do count as income, and it can be used to qualify you to rent a house or condo.
Okay. Huge, huge, huge. All right. So say that again, babe. Say that one more time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask Jameen. I am Nikki Willis, and
I'm Jameen.
And we are with the Willis team at Remax Advantage. And each week we come to you with another answer to one of your questions. So some of you may not be in a position to buy a house or just may prefer renting over buying. So this week we want to answer the question, how do I qualify to rent a home? Take it away, boo.
So this week has been a very busy week.
Yeah.
We have been very busy with rentals. This current place that we are in our market, the rental market has increased tremendously. We believe that's largely due to the quarantine and people not wanting to make a long time decision. So
and things have changed for a lot of people too.
Yeah, things have changed for a lot of people. But it's still spring, so this is still our normal spring busy season where most people make a move. Leases in.
School is out.
School is
or
out.
Almost out.
Almost out.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much out.
It's pretty much out.
Yeah, and so we've seen a spike in rentals that were normally expected to be this time of year, but it rose quickly, even with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and things like that. And so the biggest question that I've gotten this week with emails, text messages, Facebook Messenger, DMs is, what are the qualifications? What do I need to do to qualify to rent a house or a condo? And so I kind of wanted to go over that so people can be prepared. Yeah. And that was the biggest question of the week. So
and I don't mean to interrupt you, but so we're in Las Vegas. And we're talking specifically Las Vegas?
No, all over. I mean, I can tell you specifically for our market what we look for as a company, but I'm going to tell you generally what you need to qualify for a home and what to do if you don't and what the variations are. So this will actually apply no matter where you really live at.
Okay, so if you are anywhere besides Las Vegas, you can listen in on this one as well. Okay, so go ahead, babe.
Yep, so to qualify to rent a house, I kind of focus on, not the bad things, but I focus on the automatic showstoppers or the biggest issues that people face. Okay. So the biggest issue that people face, or as far as qualifying, is most property management companies and owners don't accept felonies. That's just a reality of the business part of the process. A lot of landlords, a lot of property owners, a lot of property management companies won't accept you if you have a felony. Okay. That doesn't include like arrest records. So if you have an arrest but it's not a conviction or something like that, that I don't want to say that doesn't count, but that's not a felony. So for the most part, most like property owners, big property management companies don't take felonies. So I'm not only telling you what to do to get approved or how you qualify to rent a house, I'm also telling you what to do if you don't qualify right now. Okay. Same thing with buying a house. Okay. So if you do have a situation where you have something that happened back in 2000 or something that was older but it's still a felony on your record, the alternative to a traditional property management company or renting a house is you might want to look at a private owner. Okay. Somebody who's managing their property themselves. They just have one house that they want to rent out and they're managing it themselves. a lot of times they would be more willing to work with you if
a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, a little bit more flexible.
Okay.
So you want to look at private owners, and also people actually still put ads in the paper. I know.
Yeah.
It seems
the
like
old school way, right?
Method, but if you get the newspaper, people still advertise properties for rent in the newspaper, especially private owners.
Yes.
So if you do have a felony, the alternative to that is private owner. Look in the newspaper, or if you just see a sign saying house for rent or something like that, that would be an alternative. Also, another alternative is if you do a sublease. So if somebody has a house that they rent and they got transferred and they can't complete the lease, they can sublease it, and it may be a way for you to rent a property that way. So for the most part, no felonies is like one of the biggest things that we look for when qualifying for a house.
Okay.
The second thing is evictions. Now this kind of changes.
Yeah.
So right now, like we said earlier when we first started the podcast, rentals are extremely popular, extremely busy right now, and so the qualifying criteria is a little bit higher, it's a little bit stricter. Now, if our market changes and there's a ton of properties on the market, and it becomes more of a buyer's market or a renter's market, you'll see those qualifications change. But we're telling you, like, in general right now, the next thing is no evictions. Now, this is something that changes from state to state and it changes from property management company to property management company. Most property management companies won't accept evictions, period. Okay. Some will accept them if they're like 5 years or older.
Okay.
So evictions, and then if you have an eviction, you want to pay it off. So if you have a balance that you owe somebody, you want to pay it off. So even if you have it on your record, the chances of somebody accepting an eviction and not could be the difference between do you still owe them or not.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the second biggest thing. So the first thing is no felonies. The second thing is no evictions. So what do you do if you have an eviction that's 2 years old? It's the same thing as a felony. Look for a private owner.
Okay.
If you can show that you can pay the rent and you have income and you have a good rental history, a lot of people will accept an older eviction if it's 2 years or 5 years old. The same thing with a sublease. If you have an eviction that's preventing you from getting a traditional house, you could take over the remainder of the lease on somebody else on the sublease. And also you can do short term.
Right.
You know, so sublease or short-term lease, like a 6 months. Somebody may do that where you pay a couple months in advance and things like that. So those are two alternatives. So the big two things are no felonies, no evictions.
Okay.
So, and then the next biggest factor is income.
Right.
What we look for is income to be 2.5 to 3 times what the rent is. So to make that super duper simple, so if the rent is $1,000 per month, income needs to be basically like $3,000 per month.
Okay.
That's pretty much pretty simple, pretty much across the board. That's what people look for. Even private owners, if you can show that you can pay the rent 2.5 to 3 times the rent, you don't have to make $1 million a month. But if you can show that you can pay the rent, that's the big thing that people look for.
But also, I think that's just good to just have budget wise. You know, personally, you don't want to have something. You don't want to rent something and then be house poor or house broke.
Yeah.
Okay.
30%.
Live within your means, folks.
Yeah.
Live within your means.
So 30%, a third of your income goes towards your rent or housing payment, period. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So those are the big three. So the next biggest thing is your income, 2.5 to 3 times with the rent. So since we have all this stuff that's going on with a lot of people being furloughed, a lot of people being laid off, a lot of people are filing for unemployment and things like that.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on, we all have to live somewhere. We all have to have somewhere to live. The good news is your unemployment benefits do count as income, and it can be used to qualify you to rent a house or condo.
Okay. Huge, huge, huge. All right. So say that again, babe. Say that one more time.
Your unemployment income that you receive can be used to qualify you to rent a house or a condo.
Okay. So how do they do that? What does that look like?
So if you show like the award letter that you receive unemployment benefits, that's a sufficient proof of income. If you can also show a bank statement showing the unemployment going into that account, that's pretty much all that we need.
Okay.
And so that is verifiable income to qualify you for a house.
Okay.
Provided it's that 2.5 to 3 times what the rent is. You still can rent a house. You still be good to go.
That's good. That's encouraging, I think, for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people think that they can't do anything or they're trapped, because they've been furloughed and, are now on unemployment. But showing that you do have consistent income right now, it might be a little less. But again, now's the time probably right now to like live within your means. Seriously, consider living within your means and living almost under a little bit of what you need. And saving up and things like that. So that's really encouraging, I think, for a lot of people. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So the next thing, as far as we're talking about income, the good thing about renting a house or a condo or renting period is we are very flexible on the income. As long as you show the income, it's flexible. So unemployment income is acceptable. Also, bank statements are acceptable. So if you show that you have that amount of income, 2.5 to 3 times going into a bank account.
Okay.
So if you're self-employed and you may have a cash-based business, or you don't have QuickBooks and things like that. If you can show like 2 months bank statements showing that income coming into your account, that's also acceptable form of income documentation.
Okay.
If you relocate to another city, you move to Vegas and you don't quite have a job yet, but you have a significant or a sufficient amount of money saved, and if you can show that you have a significant amount of money saved in the bank, that's a sufficient proof of income also. So even though you may be furloughed, or you really wanted to relocate, or you had to relocate, if you have money saved and you can show that you can pay the rent with that savings for months, that's a sufficient form of income also. So don't let how we're all being affected make you assume that you can't relocate, that you can't rent, that you can't move.
Absolutely.
Nobody's in a business to disqualify people. Every house that we show, we're trying to get people qualified. We're not looking for reasons to disqualify people. We're looking for ways to make it work.
Yeah.
So if we don't have the norm, we look for sufficient alternatives. So I'll go over that again. So unemployment income is sufficient form of income. Bank statements, if you're self-employed, is a sufficient form of income. And also with that, tax returns. If you have tax returns, that's sufficient for documentation of income. And then if you have money saved, that's a sufficient form of income also.
Okay, that's good stuff.
Yep. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, as far as qualifying for a house, and I want to say it's the most lenient, but a lot of people rent because they can't buy right now.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people rent because they think their credit score is not high enough, and there's no magic number of what your credit needs to be in order to rent a house.
Yeah.
But for a rule of thumb, what we look for and what most property management companies look for is like that 550 to 600, or higher, for credit. and that's just with if somebody's running a special or something like that. That's fine, but usually you just pay your deposit is 1 times what the rent is. So
Right.
whatever the rent is, that's what the deposit will be. If you're in like that 550 to 600 or higher price range.
So if you're lower,
if you're lower than that, we will consider lower credit. So if you're like 500 or lower credit, but you they may ask you to pay a higher deposit. So instead of paying 1 month's rent for deposit, you may have to pay 2 months.
Okay.
Or pay a double deposit. So credit is flexible, but you do want to show that you do have the ability to pay something every month.
Yes.
Or pay things on time. So credit is flexible, but for a rule of thumb, right around 550 to 600 is what they look for. Lower than that, they may ask you to put a higher deposit down and things like that.
Okay, that's good.
So you still can rent a house. Actually, renting is very busy right now.
It is.
And so I just wanted to take this podcast to talk about how you qualify, what all the things that you need to have, and what to do if you don't have those things. What are those alternatives? And it's still happy house hunting.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, babe, that was good stuff today. That was awesome. Hey, if you like this video, make sure you comment below. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. We read all of them and we will respond. Also, if you want more information or if you're in the Las Vegas area and you need help finding a home, go ahead and visit thewillisteamlv.com. All right, guys, that was another Ask Jameen. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.